Representation, it is the term that so many people love to use, particularly the social justice left, and they use that as a means to justify whatever bull crap that they're going to do in various forms of media. It's also been used in instances, outside of media, as it's kind of crept into like the workplace and this hyper emphasis of representation. Now, what it is that they mean, and it's just we got to be clear here. Representation as a concept, really ultimately, though they may not say it flat out, say it, what it means is they want different colors, different genders that say the same shit. The like diversity element or the representation element is never in thought and never in what it is that you advocate. That's almost never the case. It's only in, okay, we need more people in this thing that we like that look like this or act like that. It's more so what it is. Now, I will say this. Representation as a concept is fucking moronic. But these people often do this stuff in the name of the young people. They do it all the time. It's like, okay, well, little Johnny or little Susie, if they see someone that looks like them, meaning that they're the same color as them often, then they are going to feel inspired and they won't feel left out. I want to say that such approach is not only an insulting one, it's a very dangerous approach. And that's something that is self-taught. Or not like when I say self-taught, what I'm more so meaning is that they teach this to these youngsters that are like sponges. Remember, that's what you're seeing with this whole educational aspect where they focus so much on getting the young people because they want them to be reflective of them. It's more validation effort, definitely when it comes to gender. But let's think about this. What you do when you hyper-emphasize those aspects of representation as the only way that it can exist, you're saying two things. One, that of course this person must be dependent on an external source in order for them to feel validated or feel good about themselves. That in itself is dangerous. But this is perhaps the most moronic and the most important one, and why these guys that act like they're so kumbaya and diversity and they want everybody to get along, and they do the complete opposite. Because what they've done is had people more so young people, limit being able to relate to another individual to what color they are or what gender that they are. It's like that chick, whatever you want to call it, they, them, I don't know, Brianna Wu, who went at me for thinking that Luke Cage poster that I had on my, like I was in a completely different house back then. But that Luke Cage poster that was there when I was doing like my earlier shows, they talked as if, or Brianna Wu said that person was there because they were black and I was black. And I was like, well, that's a pretty insulting thing that you think that I would only have I couldn't have Luke Cage on my background because I thought he was an interesting character. No, it's because he's black. It's insulting, but it's also retarded because look at this. I did not have any control over this, right? I am a black man for sure. I'm not one of those, I'm colorblind type of situation. It's that I had no control over it. I didn't earn it. I just was born this way. You know what I mean? There are other elements and aspects to where I can relate to another individual that have absolutely nothing to do with something like my skin tone. But that's how they see people. It's monolithic. This is why it always, when they talk about the representation element, it's this black person that must think like this, not the black person that thinks in the opposite way, definitely politically. Oh, no. You've seen how they treat those guys. But this is why creatives, and I use that term very loosely, people that call themselves making stuff, often these guys, these locusts, these people that have infiltrated so many different things, and now they have control over things that had nothing to do with them, you know what I mean? Meaning that they passed or transferred ownership of a property. And they say that, they like think of these themselves as these like civil rights leaders. who are doing such justice by, I don't know, turning Iceman gay or something like that, or turning or tokenizing some character. Remember, you got Batwoman, who was tokenized character on its own, but now you got Black Batwoman, so you got tokenization squared. And DC fandom, they couldn't stop talking about blackity black, 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 and all the little girls who are gonna see this black woman and all this other stuff. Like, wow. Way to limit those little black girls. Because what you do is you teach them that there's no way that they can relate to another individual, I don't know, outside of maybe their struggle. You know what I mean? It always has to come down to the gender or the color. It can't come down to a sexuality. It can't come down to, I don't know, you've had an experience that's similar to mine. Or that experience in itself might not be similar, but I can point to that and how that is something that I can relate to. You know what I mean? Even though it's slightly different, even if it's primarily different, maybe how you looked at it was similar to how I did it. And that's what regular, normal individuals, that's their approach. It's that we don't get caught up in that silly stuff. It's more of I can relate to you in other various ways, right? You belong to the same subculture it is that I do. So I may have some sort of relation in that regard. Your interests is like me. Your upbringing may be similar to me, and not oftentimes those have anything to do with race, sexuality, or gender. But the movement of representation, that's what they focus so much on. And it's a movement of limitation. A movement where they try to strip people of their individuality. A movement where they act as if, and they teach young people that you just can't possibly relate to another individual unless you are of the same race, unless you are of the same gender. And that's fucking nonsense. And what it does is it actually moves this next generation, moves them backwards in terms of their approach to something like race relations in this country or in the West. They move it backwards because at that point, they've then something as superficial. Again, it's not one of those things that I say you should ignore. That's not what it is that I'm saying. It's a thing. Gender is a thing. You know what I mean? Like what's your race, like that's a thing. However, it's not all there is to you. And to limit an individual to exactly that and only that is insulting not only to them, but they're doing a disservice to really anybody of the past that simply wanted normal individuals to be able to act among other normal individuals as normal individuals. Not people that are the only thing that you see and the first thing it is that you see or notice or you think is primarily why I operate in the form and fashion that I operate in is because of my fucking race. I don't know. It's not because of my experiences, my accomplishments, my interest, or things like that. In that sense, I guess social justice advocates are archaic as fuck. You just listened to a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake, which is live throughout the week at 12 p.m. Central on youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. Be sure to check out my website, ericdjuly.com, so you can stay up to date with everything it is that I'm doing. You can also become a member and get access to a bunch of cool perks and exclusive content, which includes a social media hub where you can interact with myself and other members. It even has an app that you can get, which is now live in the Google and Apple stores.